Hey, how's it going? I'm Sydney from PhoneDoc.com, and I'm here to do a review of the Pantech Marauder from Verizon. Now, Pantech has made a nice name for itself by creating inexpensive phones that offer great features and pretty good performance, and the Marauder continues that legacy. Even though it's only $50 on contract, it has a dual-core Snapdragon S4 processor, it ships with Android 4.0, and it runs on Verizon's 4G LTE network. So some pretty good features for such an inexpensive price tag. We're going to take a look at it, do a full review, and decide if this is the phone you should look into if you're on a budget, or if you should look into one of Verizon's other inexpensive mid-range smartphones. Before we start, I have to say especially thanks to our friends at Best Buy Mobile for sending us the phones that we add to our One Paw Bandit game, the game where you guys can win free phones. One of the great things about Best Buy Mobile is that they sell phones from every major US carrier, including some prepaid carriers. And so instead of going to several different retail stores, you can just go to Best Buy Mobile and compare all the phones in one location. So thank you, Best Buy Mobile, for being so awesome. Thank you guys for watching this video. Now, I mentioned that it's a 4G LTE phone, and so we'll take a look at some of the speed test results that I've got here. And I'm in the Dallas area where I'm testing this phone. You know, speeds are going to vary depending on coverage in your location, you know, where you're at. But I typically have a lot of success with Verizon phones, whether it's a 3G phone or a 4G phone. So we'll start a test right now just while we're doing this video. And you can see I'm getting, 12, 13 megabits per second down. And then the uploads have been about the same, but you can see it's just very speedy. Uploads, 8 to 9 megabits per second for uploads. We'll just go over and take a look at some other results. So you can see I have 14, almost 15, 13, 15. I have a high here of 18 megabits per second. So data speeds have been great. And again, like I said, it may be different depending on coverage in your area. But data speeds have been great so far, and we'll load up the web browser right now and go to PhoneDoc.com. And just in a minute, we'll start talking about performance as well. But you can see right now I'm on 4G, and it loaded in a second, and it's still kind of finishing up. But the page, most of it loaded within 1 or 2 seconds. So Verizon's 4G LTE network has been great for me. I've had very few problems with dropped calls or pages not loading or not having a connection. It's been very reliable, and the speeds have been super fast. Now, I mentioned in the introduction, it's got a dual-core Snapdragon S4 processor, which is impressive, considering that this phone is $50 on contract and you can get it actually right now for free. That's a great processor to have. Now, obviously, Pantech has had to cut some corners in some other areas in order to keep the price down. I mentioned the display is kind of smallish. You look at the hardware, it's not the most attractive phone out there. It's actually kind of ugly in my opinion. Of course, everyone's going to feel differently about that, but it's made out of plastic. So there are some areas where Pantech has kind of had to cut costs a little bit, but you want to get it right with the processor. Of all the areas where you keep things cheap, the processor is one area where you do not want to do that. You want to make sure you have a great processor, and Pantech has really done that. It's a 1.2 gigahertz dual-core processor. It's got a gig of RAM, so multitasking has been great. You can see I can pinch to zoom. I mean, it's very smooth, very seamless. You've noticed throughout the course of the review that scrolling has been seamless. I've had very few problems in my test through playing games, having multiple apps running at one time, loading email, whatever I'm doing. I've experienced little to no lag. The lag is just minor blips here and there, but overall the performance has been absolutely great. And for a $50 phone, it might as well be perfect because it's just that good for a budget-friendly phone. We'll do a quadrant standard test just so you can kind of see some results to kind of see how the processor performs whenever put through a benchmark test. So let's take a look at the results, and we've got 5,053, and I've gotten about 5,000, 5,100, 5,200, but just excellent. You're not going to get benchmark results like that from pretty much any other $50 phone out there. Let's do one more test. Take a look at this and load it up. and we'll run a test. And here the result is 6,630, which again is pretty darn good for a phone in this price range. And yeah, performance has been great, absolutely no complaints there. So I mentioned some areas where Pantech has had to, keep costs down in order to make it as inexpensive as possible. The display was one of those, hardware is another area. The camera is another area, and this is pretty common, mid-range to low-end phones. The camera is always the one feature that suffers. As you can see, this phone does not have a flash, which is, I understand it. It's it's inexpensive. It's $50. I get it. It's an awesome price. But I mean, seriously, give it a flash. I mean, it's a 5-megapixel autofocus camera, records 720p HD video. You do have a front-facing camera. I mean, it's got all the specs, but there's no flash, and so that really kind of hinders the overall performance of the camera. I'm actually kind of disappointed. I think that's one area where Pantech definitely got it wrong. Now, camera performance has been great, and I will show you guys some pictures that I have here. The pictures look good. The detail is great, as you can see. The only thing that has suffered is the colors. The quality is good, the detail is good, but the colors look washed out. It almost looks like there's a filter on them that kind of blurs everything and gives it like that dream effect. But I mean, there's no filter on them, obviously, but the colors do look washed out. It was, these pictures were taken on a sunny day, and again, detail is good, but I wish that the color saturation wasn't so light. Really, you can see some of these indoor shots in low light settings. The pictures actually came out pretty well, considering that it doesn't have a flash. This picture was taken when it was relatively dark, but it still came out pretty well, as you can see. Or pretty good, as you can see. So yeah, great performance by the camera. The colors look washed out, which is disappointing. And again, I wish it had a flash, but it does the best that it could do, considering all of that. As for the HD video capture, it's overall basically awful. Again, the colors are good, but the detail, it's like they tried to make it too sharp, and it just comes out, grainy with too much noise in it. And then the audio quality is absolutely horrible. So I'm very disappointed by the HD video capture. But the pictures, they're okay. But again, not having a flash, that's pretty much inexcusable in this day and age. Now, moving back to the back of the phone, and let me take off the battery cover. So under the hood, you've got a 1680 milliamp hour battery, which is, kind of small for an LTE phone. You'd expect kind of a larger battery. I can kind of understand, since they might have been thinking, well, it has a smaller display and it's, just a, basic LCD panel, so maybe it doesn't need a larger battery or a lot of power. Still, battery life could have been better. Again, it's an LTE phone, so you're definitely going to have to charge it every night. 1680 is a little bit too small. I was able to get through a full day with normal use, not heavy use, but, checking my email, checking Twitter, uploading pictures, doing some gaming here and there. Just kind of normal average use. I was able to get through a full day, but, that might be different for you. If you're a heavy user, then this might not be a large enough battery. You can see the micro SD card slot here accessible without removing the battery. It does not come with a card. It does have 4 gigabytes of internal storage, and then with this slot you can add up to 32 gigabytes of external storage. So 4 gigs, kind of most mid-range high-end phones come with 8 gigabytes, so you're getting half of that, 4 gigabytes plus no card. So you're getting, you kind of see this theme of areas again where Pantech had to kind of cut some corners. The phone does come with the usual preloaded apps. This is a Verizon phone. They tend to include a lot of their own apps. So you've got Amex services, Amazon Kindle apps, and then some of these kind of standard Android apps are ones that I have downloaded. Documents Viewer. We'll go over here. Google Plus, it does come with Let's Golf 3 out of the box. Some more of these are ones that I have downloaded. So you got mobile hotspot. It can act as a mobile hotspot. Obviously, that's what the app is for. My Verizon Mobile navigation. You've got Net Media, Plants vs. Zombies, another game that it comes with. And then some Google Play apps. Task Manager. It comes with Tetris as well out of the box. Verizon Tones, Video Player, Voicemail, VZ Navigator, and then Weather. Now the thing with these apps is that you cannot uninstall them, and so it is kind of upsetting that it takes up some of your memory, especially since you only get 4 gigabytes out of the box and you don't have an extra card. So you can't uninstall them, which is, you know, kind of disappointing, but it is what it is. So there it is, guys, the Pantech Marauder from Verizon. The two unique features or standout features of this phone are its physical keyboard, which has been great. I've been very impressed, very satisfied with this QWERTY keyboard. And then the other is the 2 modes, the starter and the standard mode. It does great in those areas. I think that starter mode can be really helpful, but it also does great in every other area of being a smartphone. The dual-core Snapdragon S4 processor does a great job. The display, though kind of small, still very clear. Graphics and text look great. Verizon's LTE speeds have been fantastic. I do wish that the camera was a little better. I wish it at least had a flash. I do wish the battery was a little larger, and then I think Pantech could have done a little better with the overall design. But that's kind of, you know, again, personal preference. But overall, for $50 on contract, you really cannot complain. It is one of the best budget-friendly phones out there, and I would definitely recommend it. If you're willing to spend, you know, $150, you know, $100, $200 more, then yeah, you can get a great phone like the Galaxy S3 that's going to be, you know, the end-all and be-all of awesome phones. But if you're on a budget, definitely look at the Pantech Marauder. It'll be a great option for you. But that's it for me. Thanks, guys, for watching. I am Sydney from PhoneDog.com, and I will see you guys later. Bye.